I'm a mess today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's supposed to be music. Listen, there's a lot going on right now. I'm your host, Carlo Davas. With me today, if you're listening on the pod, I will edit the music in later. I don't know what's happening. Something didn't work. Something's not working. I don't know what's going on. My loopback's not working. What's up, chat? With me today, mid-season form over here, is my good friend, host of the Dunker Spot podcast and writer for Basketball News, Nekias Duncan.
Hello. Just first, give yourself some grace. The preseason hasn't started yet, so you are fine. Work out your kinks now. Once the games start rolling for real, then you have to, do some testing and stuff. But for now, we're rolling. We're still in the off season. It's fine.
As far as I'm concerned, Miami Heat training camp hasn't started yet. You know what I mean? We're just, you know what I mean? We had our Miami Heat media day. We're getting going. I opened PBB stats for the first time today in a while. So that's how you know it's a new season. You're looking at, you know what I mean? We're getting into it. We have our good friend here, Nekias, to talk Heat wings. So we did Heat guards early on in the offseason. Took some time, did Heat bigs, and now we're moving on to Heat wings, which is arguably maybe the most important positional group in basketball now, given the size and the ball handling duties that they do. But first, Nekias, something happened in the league today, which is a little bit came a little bit of a surprise. Also, too much discourse on the timeline. There's some new rules with how the league's going to start calling fouls, and they had little educational videos on how this works. And I guess we can start here. So what the league's doing is they're trying to get rid of this kind of player created incidental contact when guys hit the brakes and kind of spearhead into other players, or the super duper pump fake lean in jump shot, kind of things of those nature. So stuff that Middleton, Trae Young, Kyle Lowry is a big guy who loves to hit the brakes and make sure contact gets created behind him. How do you feel about the new rule change? Do you feel like it's really going to affect the Heat? I know Jimmy, is a guy who loves contact. You experience this how?
I think it's a good thing that they're trying to get rid of the pump fake and exaggerated lean in at the very least. That's just something that I don't think there's really much of a place for. So I think ultimately that should be something pretty easy to regulate out if you put a keen eye to it. When someone jumps kind of wildly at you, and you can tell when a shooter is jumping way out of their natural motion just to try to draw a foul. Get rid of those. You have to balance the game out some way, because offense is already at an advantage anyway, and this is a minor way to kind of tilt the scales back in the opposite direction. So I like that. As far as the deceleration stuff, I think that's a little bit trickier, because I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with changing your cadence on your drives. And if someone's trailing from behind, feel your defender, put him in jail, make your move from there. So I don't know how you do that consistently. I think it's going to be the biggest thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the first 2 weeks of the season, Trae Young in particular is averaging a foul and a half more per game within the first 2 weeks of the season. And then as the season goes on, he's getting those fouls again. Because at a certain point, it's still basketball. You can't tell the ball handler, hey, you're not allowed to stop. So I don't think there's much you can do with that.
Well, that kind of foul has never bothered me. And I think people were mad at Trae Young, but to me, I mean, watching kind of older Dwayne Wade, that's kind of what he would do. He would manipulate people's momentum and kind of coerce contact. But it's, as a ball handler, to steal a phrase from Zach Lowe, you dictate the terms of engagement. And if you're a great player, you are going to send the defense where you want it to go. And then you can throw your body where said defender is if you don't really like the look at the basket that you got. So it's a little bit of both, but I don't. Do you see it affecting Jimmy too much? I mean, Jimmy doesn't really create contact that way, but he is a guy that really relies on the free throw rate to leverage some of his other offensive deficiencies.
Yeah, I think with Jimmy in particular, I think the emphasis on the offhand stuff is going to be the bigger thing for Jimmy, just because he loves to throw that elbow in there, loves to nudge that shoulder into a defender's chest to draw some contact that way. So depending on how tight refs are with that may affect Jimmy a little bit, but he's also still super strong. He's still crafty. He's still going to get to the line plenty. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. To the point about deceleration again, what I am interested to see is if they are able to kind of regulate that on a consistent basis. I wonder what that does for big men as a whole. because I think that makes it even more difficult to play drop coverage if the guy navigating the screen also has to worry about, hey, how quickly can I get back into the play without having a foul drawn on me if this guy stops? So I think that's going to force bigs to have to play a step or two higher in pick and roll. So I wonder if, again, it's going to take some months to even see like how consistently the refs are going to call this. But if there is a shift in that way, I wonder what that does for like pick and roll coverages for big men.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that way, and I kind of like, I think the Bucks kind of sensationalize this super low drop kind of coverage, but I think a lot of other teams like the Nuggets, like they like to play Jokic really higher, up on those pick and rolls. So that kind of, I feel like a lot more teams have started to do stuff like that, and Miami's nice because Bam can do a lot of different things. But yeah, I didn't think about that. Shout out to chat who's here. We got Alf asking if he's in space. I guess he's making fun of my lights. I don't know. Every day it's something new, making fun of the setup I got. All right, Nekias, let's just get right into it. We're here to talk about Heat Wings, the last positional group. As I said earlier, arguably the most important. I don't even know where you want to start. Well, I guess we, you can pick after this. I had Alf on pod, and I believe it was Tiff, and we were kind of talking about PJ, where he fits on the team, and they kind of argued that he's more of a big on this roster. And I'm kind of curious as to where you go, because we obviously talked about him on the Bigs pod, but I always thought of him more as a wing than as a big.
I think he's more big than wing. Like he's your screen setter to try to draw switches. He pretty much he floats between the corner and the dunker spot. Word to the pod. And defensively, he's mostly defending 4s and 5s. Like in a switch heavy scheme, he'll go out to where you want him to. But in terms of where he's most comfortable, like he wants to bang with 4s and 5s. So I think big man's probably where I lean with him. He also just doesn't dribble at all. So it's just like, oh.
Under no circumstances you got to give Alf credit. I feel like that's what just happened. I feel like you just said Alf was right about a basketball thing. So shout out to Alf who got that right. No, I kind of wanted to pick your brain on that real quick because we had discussed them, but I had planned for this. So where do you want to go first? We have a cascading roster of lots of different skill types. Where do you want to start? You're the guest. You steer the ship.
With the wing, okay. We can start KZ if you want.
KZ, who is inexplicably left off the Team Nigeria tweet, congratulating all the Nigerian players except for KZ. Like even they're distancing themselves.
Like is the shot that bad? Like I don't.
Nekias, he's a dude that Twitter gets obsessed with X prospect, right? We get like very, it was Justice for a while, it was Josh for a little bit, it was Jorts, everybody, we get, we go down the list, and KZ was the latest installment of this. And the idea of KZ is always better than KZ in practice. And I think we just want them to have a dude who can play 4 at the wing, who can handle a little bit, shoot some corner threes, and be a switchable defender that you trust. Unlike, I don't trust PJ shot too much. I don't really trust PJ staying healthy too much, and he's young. So this idea of who he is has never really bore the fruit to which we wanted. And I don't really know his place on this team. I imagine he'll get rotation minutes because we're in a COVID season still, right? So, and Udonis Haslem is not a player, but he's not really playing. And Victor Oladipo is out for, a minimum, I guess, January or February, right? I mean, the date keeps changing, but, he's going to miss some time. So he's going to play. It's just, I don't know the role.
I'm not sure what the role is either. And I'll preface this by stating the obvious. Like, I am not in the practice facility. I'm not in the locker room, especially now with COVID. So, like, I don't know what the development plan for KZ has been or what it is right now. With that said, like, it doesn't feel like he's really had – I just don't even know what to make of what they've done with KZ since he's been here. Like, he started out hurt, and then there's the Sioux Falls stint. Then he's kind of bouncing back and forth between Sioux Falls and the Heat roster, and, like, sometimes he gets the ball and he gets to do things. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he gets the ball and doesn't want to do things. Sometimes he does too much. And if he makes a mistake, then he's out. So, like, I'm not even sure what, outside of play hard on defense, which is a prerequisite for literally every Heat player within the organization. Like, I don't know what they're telling him that he's allowed to do or what he should focus on.
He's also like kind of glitchy on defense. I forget if that was a Hangover Time thing or a He Twitter thing, but like he just kind of spazzes and like it's like he malfunctions.
Like he has a lot to think about, and he's probably stressed about knowing, hey, I only get 7 minutes. So if I blow this rotation, I'm looking over the SPO to see if someone's running to the scores table or not.
It's
so
truly a bizarro Tyler Hero.
Yeah, like I just don't know. Like I've said it on the timeline, in the articles, on the pod. Like I would like to see KZ just get a stretch to where it's like, okay, you're getting 15 minutes a night, period. This is the regular season. We'll take you out of the rotation when the playoffs come if you're not good. But you're penciled in for 15 minutes. These are your roles. Do these things. And I feel like we would have a better handle on what KZ is or isn't.
I'm sure because he would too.
Yeah, like I think just giving him that would help the Heat to figure out like what he is, what his actual upside is. Because when he was drafted, it's like, okay, here's this dude at Stanford. He's long, he's athletic, he can handle some, he can shoot some, he can slash some, and then he doesn't really get to do any of that stuff. And then we're also yelling at him for not doing the stuff, and then yelling at him when he tries to do the stuff and does it wrong. So like
I don't know. Flashed some ball skills, and it's when I mean flash, I mean whatever is the quickest version of turning on a flashlight and off a flashlight. That's what we've seen. He's kind of I'm kind of off Nekias. Like I've come to the point that I'm like, he's just not going to be what we want him to be or what we think he is, and like he's probably going to be a 13th man. With all that potential and length and size and all the, the measurables, and he put on weight and all that. I mean, even with Nigeria, did you see anything that you're like, yeah, I mean, he does, I think what he does really, there is a value in what he does is I think he's good at like full court press. Like we saw him do that, against Harden in the in the regular season and he saw some of that in Nigeria, but other than that, it's just not much that I'm willing to like roll the dice on.
Yeah, like he hasn't found a role on offense at all. And like I think that's what prevents him. And I don't want to disparage the Heat because like obviously they're a great organization, a great developmental organization. But like when he got here, like I think this was kind of a tough spot for him because I don't think he was ever going to get the on-ball reps in particular to kind of explore what he can be. And from there, again, if you pigeonhole him as a shooter, like that's fine if that's communicated to him and he has the green light to take as many corner threes as possible if he's open. But I don't know if he's had that either. And again, I'm saying I don't know. It could very well be true that he's been given that green light and there's a mental block or something like that. I'm not in the locker room, so I'm not going to pretend like I am. But just from what I've seen, there's a real lack of confidence with him. And I wonder how much of the lack of productivity for KZ is lack of confidence and how much of it is he's just not good enough. And if he's not good enough, that's fine. You cut your losses whenever you can. But like, I don't even have a real gauge on if that's the case.
13.3% from the left corner, 35.7% from the right corner. It's just not there. About 30 attempts. He's
30 attempts. So like, you don't even know.
He's like 7 for 30 or something, or 7 for 29. Yeah, I mean at the rim he's 57.8%, just a hair under league average. Again, the breaks, mixed bag, 30%, 0%, 14%, on relatively low attempts. So it's just tough to, you kind of hope that with a guy like Kyle, on the team who's the best passer they've had since Dwayne, since
probably, yeah.
I mean, probably not even Dwayne at the end, so it's been some time since they've had a guy that's that level of playmaker. So you kind of hope that, but I mean, even then, I mean, that's just, you're just asking the guy to be something that he's not. And, I mean, listen, they gave him a 2-year contract. I think, that's good on the Heat for doing that for him. I'm sure that's a big deal for him, but I just don't really, at least for next season, I don't really know where his role is going to be. And I kind of think we're in agreement there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to let's kind of pivot to the Heat's newest acquisition, Caleb Martin, aka the Stinky Twin. I'm kidding. He's
wow.
He is a notably not as good twin as my camera goes out. I actually learned what happens. Listen, for the audience, a little backstory here. I did some research. So I did change my USB cable, and it still happened. Brass was still mad at me. And for the pod audience, shout out to you for listening to this visual medium. But my camera goes out, and there's an error, and it shows like a little cable being unplugged. Apparently, that is the voltage going into my camera that spikes, and that's why I lose signal. So I don't really know what I can do. I'll figure it out. You know, we'll keep problem solving. We'll keep troubleshooting. So Caleb Martin, newest addition, the not as good Martin twin, comes from the Hornets over to Miami. I would have preferred them go with, you know, one of the younger guys on the two-way. They go with a veteran. I mean, a 26-year-old veteran, not a grizzled vet, just like a, you know, kind of been here vet, you know, knows where the bus stop is, kind of vet. I don't feel any certain way about it. I would have rather them used it on a young guy. Not that they have. I'm sure that the second they can trade their picks, they are. So, you know, he has as many bites of the apple as they can. I don't know how you felt. I mean, he'll play for sure. I mean, another example of just a guy who's, you know, a little undersized to play the three, but they're going to have to do it. I mean, they're pretty loaded at guard. So, you know, and they still really don't have a backup for Jimmy Butler that, you know, you can really count on. So I'm sure that they'll try that for a bit. I don't really know. I don't think he's going to be a playoff rotation guy, but, you know, in the regular season, you know, you need some minutes eaters, and, you know, stinky Caleb Martin's here to do that. That's me. Shout out to Caleb Martin. I'm just joking, man.
I didn't know Caleb Martin was an enemy of the show. Like
he's not. Is this disappointing? You get the Woj notification, the Miami Heat, Caleb Martin. I'm like, who cares?
I initially missed when he got signed. I didn't know he was on the roster until I refreshed my timeline, I think a day or two after the signing. And like I saw an Ira article about the Heat's new addition, Caleb. I was like, when did this happen?
How like, did you experience that? You're just like, wait,
I'm just like, huh. So my first thought was like, the Martin twins are broken up. Okay. And then the second thought was like, the Heat went Caleb Martin with a two-way. Like, that's a thing that they can do. Sure. Like, I'm kind of with you. Like, I wish they would have went younger.
Yeah.
But like, fine. He can self-create a little bit. He can shoot some. He can defend okay. Like, I don't have strong Martin opinions. Like, I watch, like I live in Charlotte now, so like I've called a bunch of Hornets games. So like I'm aware of his existence.
I don't even think Caleb has strong Caleb Martin opinions.
I mean, Cody better, but like I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. If we got Cody, you know, now we'd be talking. We'd be cooking with oil.
We'd be treating Cody Martin like he's like Kenrich Williams. It'd be great. But in all seriousness, like I don't know how much he's going to play either, to be completely honest. Like I get the Heat making a swing on a wing because they do need some depth there. If you don't believe in KZ, then you need someone that can defend the forward spots or a forward spot. And like Caleb Martin should be able to do that for you. But I don't know. Like I feel like if you're going to go vet, like go super vet at that point and get someone that's established that you know that can play 12, 14 minutes. Like Caleb can do that, but I don't know if I'm going to feel good about it unless the shot takes another step.
Chat's asking, Nekias, Caleb Martin, Isaiah Thomas, or Wes Matthews?
Oh, see, I would have taken Wes Matthews.
See, Wes didn't even play for the Lakers last season, and like it's not like they didn't need the minutes. So I don't know. I'm kind of out on Wes at this point, which is kind of weird because in the bubble, you know, he was defending Jimmy really well, and last year in the Lakers, you know, where he, you know, he could have contributed, just gave him a big fat nothing. And I'm just super out. And you and I are just super out on IT. We don't need a 4-foot guy who can't defend anybody. Like I'm kind of over that. Who's gonna break down? Like,
yeah, like I think I'm okay with. I get the case for Isaiah being on the roster. Like he can still get to his pull up threes. Like I think that helps. And if you're saying like, hey, Victor Oladipo is out until 2022, and we need someone to take some ball handling pressure off of Tyler Hero on the bench, then like, sure, I get it. But I'm still with you. Like, I'd rather them swing for a wing somewhere than make that bet.
Yeah. By the way, Martin is, 39% from one of the corners. That's, on low attempts, but that's promising. Some little shooting prowess. They just need a dude to stay in the corner so that when that man tags Bam on the dive, Bam has an option on the short roll. Because the Andre thing, last season was just infuriating because teams just decided, I'm not going to guard this dude. And if he shoots 5 for 7, fine. I don't care. Which just kills the Heat offense because even if Andre makes a 3, you never want it unless it's late. You know what I mean? It's just like, God damn. So if they can get a guy to stand in the corner and at least be, not a negative spacer, I think they'll take it as a win. But it's just like it's kind of a lame thing to ask for a team that has a legitimate championship aspiration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like this, and this is why I'm just like, okay, get West, because like he can do that much at least.
Yeah, like I don't know, like, but I just and they said they reported that they weren't even like in on Wes Matthews whatsoever, like they just didn't want him, which is kind of weird because he seems like a Heat guy, and I mean they've taken chances on weirder dudes.
Yeah, like the Marquette connection is there with Jimmy, so like I don't understand why you wouldn't at least try. And like you said, like we just saw, I guess a year and a half ago at this point, what Wes Matthews did to Jimmy Butler in a semifinal series.
Like in an important games.
Yeah.
They were running actions to get Wes off of Jimmy. Like that was like the thing. They were running Goron screens to get Wes off of him.
And they just said, nah, we're good. Like, I mean, I guess.
Poor George Hill. That series to me is when I was like, I'm done with George Hill being a plus defender in the playoffs. I saw Jimmy brutalize that man, and I'm like, nah, it's over. I'm sorry.
Like that, I mean, that's not a fair standard. Like George Hill shouldn't be expected to defend Jimmy Butler well.
Alf asked in chat, ask Nekias if we're not talking about Kendrick Nunn enough. He's under 38. Have you seen Lakers Twitter, man? What are they doing?
Like they're acting like they've never watched Kendrick Nunn play basketball, which is fine. But
lucky them.
Some of the Kendrick, I think it was Kendrick Nunn quote saying like he wants to prove that he could be like this strong defender. So I was like, okay, that would have been nice to have in Miami.
Would have been like, really nice. Not even like strong, just like not horrible.
Yeah, and like even like that's fine. Like players talk themselves up all the time. Like that's cool. To see Laker fans on the timeline, and to be clear, like these are the Laker fans that are like quote tweeted or retweeted on my timeline, not the Laker fans that I follow, because those are reasonable people. But to see like Laker fans talking authoritatively on like how good Kendrick Nunn is on defense, like, oh yeah, we love to sign. He's gonna hit threes and he's gonna lock up. I'm just like, are you sure?
Do you know what it is, Nekias? My theory is that if you've never watched him, you look at he's a small dude, but he's stocky. Right? Like he looks like he's strong. And they look at that and they're like, yeah, this guy looks tough. He competes on defense.
Yeah, I get the aesthetic thing. Like he looks like he should be a good defender.
He does. So does Westbrook, though.
And we've seen over. Yeah, I'm not doing that on this stream. But yes, yeah, like that. I got a good laugh at those initial takes from the Nunn side. Like, okay, y'all are in for a rude. Yeah, y'all are in for a rude awakening.
They're down bad, man. Alf said he's dark skinned, so people think he can defend. I wasn't going to touch that, but
I mean that's a theory that I could. Oh Jesus!
Oh man, love you off. By the way, light skinned opinions after this podcast are going to go over some of the anti-vax stuff in the NBA. So if you want to stick around here on twitch.tv/MIAHeatbeat, we have light skinned opinions with Alf954, aka Alphonse Sydney, host of Hangover Time. Catch that with the guys, with Parrish, with Maddox. It's a lot of fun and they do great stuff. All right, Nekias, you want to move on to the big gun?
Go for it.
Jimmy G Buckets. The G stands for Gets. Their best player last season. I don't think Bam is better than Jimmy yet. Jimmy had arguably the best season of his career. You know, we're knocking on the door of first team All NBA. Some people might have voted for him first team All NBA. I know I would have been on my ballot or damn close to it. I know Zach Lowe, probably the most high profile person, other than you, of course, who was arguing for him being first team All NBA. I think Arnovitz as well. So, you know, there was a legitimate case that best season of his career, I think pretty undoubtedly. I thought on defense, you know, he really changed. I mean, the record with him there versus him not speaks for itself. They're like plus almost 8 per 100 possessions when he's on the floor. They're like -7 when he's off. Which to me, Nekias, the big change between last season and this season was the plus number was about the same. They were like +7 when he was on the floor. Last season, the issue was that when he was off, they were about even. They were like plus -0.1 or +1, right? Something negligible. And this season, they would just fall off a cliff when he wasn't on the floor. So he did everything for them on both ends. I thought him at the nail, especially last season on defense, was just absolutely game-changing, and he was a tornado. I thought it was arguably his best defensive season. I made the argument, Nekias, I thought he was just better than Bam. To me, he was, remember when Kawhi had that season where you couldn't dribble around him?
Mm-hmm.
I thought Jimmy had that, but like you couldn't pass the ball around him because he was so active. He was flying around. He was reading. He was just getting deflections. He was just doing everything. He was just incredible. So we come in. He's obviously the leader of this team. Obviously the highest profile guy. Coming off what a rather embarrassing playoff performance, whereas our homies at the Gyro Step like to remind everybody that Bryn Forbes outscored Jimmy Butler in a playoff series. For as annoying as that is, it's true, right? Like, we get mad all we want and bring up, the other playoff series, but I mean, it's right. So, Nekias, for me, Miami has the third highest championship equity in the East. I don't think they'll finish that in the conference. I think their regular season's going to be lower. But what does Jimmy need to be this season for them to achieve that?
For Miami to get back to the finals today, right? Like he has to be a top 8 to top 10 player at minimum.
So he needs to be what he was last season or better?
Yes. And he has to do that over more games. So like to your Bam versus Jimmy point, like I think Jimmy was better on like a per possession basis. Like he was just that impactful, the way that he got to the rim, the way he got to the free throw line, the way that he set the table for others. And the way that he defended, particularly off ball, like you said it yourself, like when he's at the nail or he's on the weak side. I rolled in my season preview for the Southeast. I don't think there are 5 better players, by 5 better weak side defenders than Jimmy Butler. Period.
Absolutely insane.
Not just the wing, like period. I don't think there are 5 better. Just the way that he's able to anticipate and get his hands in there, and he does so without he's not a high foul rate guy either defensively. Very calculated gambles. So they're going to need that from him over a longer stretch. And that's a tough ask, considering his age, his mileage. I mean, people bring up the Bulls years all the time. But like, that's going to be a thing. Like, I think that's where having a guy like Kyle Lowry helps. He won't have to do as much offensively, at least early in games he won't. And so maybe he can be in conservation mode a little bit during the regular season. And he can still turn it on late in games. But they're going to need that defensive impact. And offensively, like, it's the big elephant in the room, and it's the obvious thing to say, but like the shot has to come back to some degree. Like that's what's kind of lost and what makes Jimmy Butler's season from last year so special, but also so weird. Like that was the best and the most impactful he's been, despite having really the worst season of his career. Easily. Mid-range jumper fell off a cliff. He's never been a strong 3-point shooter, but that wasn't there either. The fact that he had the true shooting percentage that he did is just a testament to how often he got to the line, because he couldn't knock down shots from anywhere. And as you got into the postseason, there's the shot and also just the random bouts of passivity.
He was good when he would get to that low block, and when he got to that spot from the left side, I felt that pull up. I'll check the numbers now. I do agree with you, but when he got to that little short jumper, I felt that was pretty effective. I know that the pull up pretty much anywhere else was just not there.
Yeah.
But, okay, yeah, he was about 50%, for the season on that little jumper in the low block. So, but to your point, I mean, the rest of the numbers are just 22%, 33%, 40%, 36%, right? So it's just a lot of not good.
Yeah. So that's where it starts. And again, the expectation is not for Jimmy Butler to become a 35% 3-point shooter on 4.5, 5 attempts. Like that's just not going to be him. If it was going to be him with as hard as he works, it would have happened by now. That's not going to be him. Jimmy has to get back or get to like 42% from mid-range, 43% from mid-range, which is not great. Like the Chris Paul zone is where you want to be if you're going to have a mid-range heavy diet.
All-time great.
Yeah. So, that just kind of speaks to what that threshold is. But like, if Jimmy's in the low 40s, with the way that he gets to the line and the way that he facilitates, you live with that. Like, that's what you need. What you can't have is Jimmy having the same diet he has while being in the low to mid 30s on mid-range jumpers. Because now you're looking at tough shots that are also going in well below league average. And with a Heat team that doesn't like to run anyway, and Lowry's going to help some, but for a Heat team that selectively pushes at best, you want to maximize every possession you get. And if you're already taking low percentage looks and you're hitting those low percentage looks at a low percentage, it's not going to work for you. So I think that's going to be the big thing for Jimmy. If he gets to, even if it's high 30s, low 40s with that diet, then you're where you want to be with him.
So 43% last season on pull-up 2-point field goals. I want that number to about 45, 48 to really be cooking. I think if he can get that to something reasonable like that, which I mean, 43 is better than I thought it would be. I mean, that number, that's a little high, what I thought. I thought he'd be like high 30s. But if he can get that to 45, 48%, I think, now we're talking. And guys, I want to ask you about something. I was combing over some numbers, and the Jimmy Bam combo lineups have just been a little bit underwhelming. 114 offensive rating with them both together without Dragic, in about 900 minutes. Just really +5, good. Obviously, defense is good, but just nothing special. Jimmy Gore on no Bam, they're +10 per 100, right? There's a little bit more juice there. I don't know what it was last season. Them together just didn't have that punch, that bite that they've had. I don't know if it's just they just never were on the same page in terms of their health. Jimmy was kind of tired, and Bam had the knee stuff. They played about 1,000 minutes together last season, which is really just not a lot. I mean, Bam played as many minutes without Jimmy as they've played together, and Jimmy played like 700 minutes without Bam. So I think if you look for them to be good, I think we could start with that number kind of going up. I want that combo has to be a lot better.
Yeah, I would say like a lot of that was just health. Like, I think just trying to find the chemistry between those two last year was weird because Jimmy missed a chunk of time, then Bam would miss some time, and then those two playing together, the three guys around them, it was just a revolving door of people. So I think there was just a lot of weirdness there. Again, it's going to be a common refrain for this season, but Kyle Lowry is going to help. Like, just having someone to take some of the creation burden off of both of those guys, I think is going to alleviate a lot of that pressure. But I'm curious to see like where their relationship is. Like, I know it's good, but Jimmy was very vocal about Bam needing to be aggressive last year. And towards the end of the season, it went from, hey, I believe in this guy, I want him to take more shots, to, yo, take some more shots. And so like, I wonder like how he's going to walk that line this year. It was encouraging to hear Bam, at media day, like talking about how he wants to be a shooter, how he's ready to be more aggressive. Like, that all sounds great. But to that point last year, there were a lot of post-game pressers where Bam kicks it off with, it's on me, I got to be more aggressive.
But hold on. A lot of those post-game pressers also followed with, I'm a good player the way I am. I'm special because I pass, right? He did a lot of that Ben Simmons stuff. Like, I know what y'all are saying, but listen, I know what I'm doing here. And for me, that was an indication of, he's like, hey, listen, I get it. I'm the problem. My mentality has been the issue. And again, you're right. You need to kind of put it to paper and do it. But that was a departure from those vapid press conferences that we'd have, right? So, and it wasn't until Jimmy Jimmy would scare them into like 3-game winning streaks, like a couple times in the season, right? He would go up and he'd suddenly start blasting people, and everyone's like, oh God, we got to win a few. After the Minnesota one, that was the game to me. They had
Yeah, like Jimmy doesn't really mix words to begin with, but it's always funny when he gets like pointed like that. And this is also just a testament to the fit with Jimmy and the organization, because the fact that he can do that more than once, and they're like, okay, yeah, he's probably right, and they just go with it. We have proof that doesn't go well in many other places.
So, I mean, I do, Tiff Meeks in chat said, don't say the Ben word on this pod. I will say, not that we're going to spend time on Ben Simmons, but, Ben basically is coming out here saying, this is not my fault, right? Like, y'all are making fun of me, and this dude I'm playing with isn't helping me, right? It's and listen, that's fine. If Ben feels that way, like, I don't totally even disagree with him or whatever. Like, it's not to get in on that, but it's like this lack of accountability that is common in sports. Listen, dudes the mirror is the last to know. It's not fun looking in the mirror and say, hey, listen, I fucked up. This is my fault, right? Maybe Ben's not there yet. Maybe Ben doesn't realize he should have passed under the basket to Matisse fucking Tybalt of all people, which is the funniest part of that. It's not like he passed the ball to, like, Embiid or like Tobias. It was to Matisse. Matisse is like, wait, what? So not that this is a BAM show, but I do think that partnership is important. Somebody in chat asked, who are we going to hear from more this season, Jimmy or Lowry? Kyle's not that kind of talker. You'll hear from Kyle for jokes. Kyle will make jokes.
Yeah, this is going to be a Jimmy thing. Like, Jimmy's going to be more talking than Kyle is. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I've seen and heard from people more in the know in Toronto. Like, Kyle can be insightful when he wants to be. Yeah. It's just the want to be part that's going to be.
Fred was more vocal than Kyle a lot of times. I mean, Fred was more of a vocal as a Raptors fan who watched press conference because I'm a degenerate. Fred, that's how you know I'm down bad. I'm so down bad that Nekias was talking about the Raptors on the Dunker Spot podcast. By the way, you should listen to that Atlantic Division preview. It was really good, except for the fact that they think Julius Randle's the 6th best player in the Atlantic Division, which is really weird. But regardless, I mean, but by the way, can I call you out on that? Pascal Siakam had a better season than Julius Randle did. Like, that All NBA season that Pascal had is like a lot better than the Julius Randle season. And then, so why is Pascal like bad now and Julius is good? Because he went from a 17% pull-up 3-point shooter to a 42% pull-up 3-point shooter. Like, that's going to totally happen again.
Well, yes, Pascal that year was better than Julius this year, but that didn't happen in the same year. So it's kind of an entering 2021, 22.
I'm just sick of Julius. I'm just sick of people saying that Julius Randle's like this really good player.
You're just sick of the Knicks.
I'm sick of the Knicks in general. But by the way, I think the Knicks are going to be the worst team in that division. I think that they're going to finish with the worst record.
Wow.
I think that offense was not going to be good. I think their defense was going to take a hit. And I think that the people that are thinking that Tom Thibodeau is some sort of magic person that will juice that team to a top 5 defense, it's absolutely ridiculous. And you could clip this chat. You could remind me later. It's just, I think the Raptors are just going to be a little bit better. And the Celtics, the Nets, and the Sixers are just straight up better, even if Ben doesn't show up to work. So, by the way, living the dream.
Big move.
Hey, okay. I'm not going to be there. And greatest press conference in the history of basketball. All right. I want to we have a couple more to get to before we eat out. Duncan Robinson, I think, is a guy that, I mean, obviously, after post-All-Star break, the best non-Steph shooter in the league by attempt, by volume, by any metric you want. The dude is a monster. I thought in the playoffs last season, you could tell that he had played 2 full seasons, did not miss a single game, played a ton of minutes. And let's not forget that the finals weren't even a year ago. I think the finals are a year ago tomorrow or something insane like that. So they've played a season and change since then. And Duncan has played every single game. And in that playoff series, I thought the biggest tell that he was tired was he would screen, he would flare, and then he would not move again. And that's not Duncan Robinson. That dude is always moving. And I think that his defense has improved. I think that he's taken little steps. I don't think he's ever going to be a lockdown guy, but as long as he's not the target of as long as he doesn't have a bullseye on his forehead, it's good enough for me.
From the opposing player or the refs. So that's whichever one. Some
of those fouls were his fault though. He got to stop.
He's a handsy dude, but like also
he has to be though, because I think he knows.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the physical gifts that other dudes have, so he has to be a little bit more, pushy, shovey, and then he gets called for it, and then he's like, "But Tim Duncan." But Nekias, real quick, I mean, because I don't know how much there is to say about Duncan, other than we know what he's adding to his game, defense. What do you think they need out of him What kind of legitimate improvements do you think they're going to need out of him this season?
I think it's just continue to counter teams blitzing him on those handoff actions with Bam. Or just even it's a hard show, like getting the pass out quicker because you know what the read is. If there's 2 to the ball, it's a quick slip underneath the Bam and it's a short roll opportunity from there. So, step one after, he kind of came out of nowhere in that first season and just lit the Nets on fire. Step one is, okay, I have to identify this pass. Step 2 is, okay, I need to identify this pass as quickly as possible. And like he's made those strides last year. He's going to have to continue to make those strides. From there, if he is getting dropped, like it was interesting that his pick and roll volume nearly more than quadrupled last year once you factor in shots and passes. So like they're trusting him more with those kind of actions. Like he's not manipulating weak side helpers and all that good stuff. He's not making high level passing reads. But like the fact that they're giving him like, hey, this is drop. Take a couple of dribbles. If you have a pull up, take it. If not, give it to Bam. Let's flow into something else. Like I think that's a testament to how hard he's worked to adding the ball handling to his game. So if you can afford to give him, the same volume this year, since you're adding a legitimate playmaker in Kyle Lowry, if that volume can hold serve and he gets a little bit better with that, it can get into pull-ups a little bit easier. If he can make those slip passes earlier, if he starts identifying open guys on the weak side to help defense nudge the wrong way, that's a major plus. But I think it's all margin stuff with Duncan. Like his role isn't going to materially change. Like he's very much the movement shooter, one of the best on the planet. So it's that and just getting better at defense. Like if that's body work, that's more film work, keeping your hands out the cookie jar so you don't get hit with some of those BS foul calls. That's it. Improve on the margins. Like you have a high impact guy.
So my question with Duncan going forward is going to be with Kyle on the team. I feel like the dribble handoffs, and that's going to be a number I monitor. The DHOs are going to probably go down a bit and the pick and roll numbers are going to go up a bit. And I kind of wonder if that means more catch and shoot stuff for Duncan, more spot ups in the corner, or are we still going to get some of those off-screen movement type sets, those little pin downs that they like to run for him? Nekias, I don't even know which is the good answer for them, because part of the reason why they like him moving is because they're still short on guys who can dribble. And when you don't have dudes who could dribble, you got to run off-ball screen nonsense and get guys in movement because these dudes can't dribble. So you want them coming off of action so that they can catch the ball and the ball can move without guys having to put it on the floor. So I don't know what the best thing for him is, and I don't really know what this looks like with their kind of with their offensive set diet.
Like I would like to see it nudge more pick and roll E.
But I mean, like for him as a spot up guy or like as a movement guy.
I mean, in a vacuum, if you can get him more spot up looks, that's what you want. Like he's better at stationary stuff than movement stuff. And if you're getting the defense bent somewhere else, then that's an easier look for him. And if it's an easier look for him, then you're getting more points from him. So I think ideally, if this shifts more to like Kyle Bam pick and roll or something like that, then you get Duncan easier looks. And if you can kind of shift his distribution of shots from movement to spot up, then I think he's going to be more effective on those movement shots because he won't have to do it as often. Because to your point, a lot of him having the movement volume that he did was because nobody else could bend the defense. Like Jimmy with the ball in his hands is very good, but like if he's running the pick and roll, you're ducking under it. Bam added the mid-range jumper, but like you're not getting 2 to the ball to stop a Bam mid-range jumper. And like Goran Dragic, lost a step, was still pretty effective as an offense player, but like no one's sending 2 to the ball on Goran Dragic. So if Kyle Lowry can bend your defense more, then that should lead to easier opportunities for everyone else.
42% catch and shoot guy last season. About 40% with one dribble. So a lot of those dribble handoffs, one dribble kind of thing, obviously really effective. I know the points per possession is like, it's like 1.5 or it's something like that. It's pretty insane. It's still Rex teams. The switching, I do think Kyle kind of gives them a little bit of a solution to if teams try to over switch against Miami's handoff stuff. What they do need to do is they need to trigger their sets not with 14 on the shot clock, so they have a few bites at the apple to run a counter action, because that was maybe the most frustrating thing. And I think that's probably like one of the more subtle things that Kyle's gonna do. Not that. I thought it was funny that Spo's like, yeah, we're going to pace push with Kyle Lowry. Kyle's a rebound and go guy, but like if he's not rebounding, that pace is not getting pushed. Kyle's a walker and lick your fingers and, make sure your ducks are in a row kind of point guard. So for me, I like Alf added himself. My camera goes out. Listen,
it was perfect timing.
It was perfect for
No, I was just getting ready for LSO, and because you guys are running late, we're gonna start at 8:30.
What did you say? You tweeted CP.
I said you guys are on CP time.
What is that?
Colored people, Cuban people, Caribbean people.
I'm not Cuban though. I'm Colombian.
Whatever.
There's a C there.
Hispanic people.
This is, yeah.
Nice
Latino people. Hey, what's happening? I'm sorry. Did I just like ruin your show?
No, it's okay. I was kind of petering out on Duncan Talk. To be honest with you, I lost my place in the conversation because I saw you come in, and I have like 10 stat pages open, and what I wanted to do was find a points per possession number on Duncan Bam dribble handoffs, and then it just kind of went sideways. You actually saved me, and then my camera went out.
Keep looking for that. I want to talk to Nekias.
What do you want to talk about?
What's going on, sir?
Nekias, all right, you pay attention to the rest of the league more than I do. I don't pay attention to anything but the Heat. I think that's well established. I don't know shit about anything outside of spread pick and roll and Coach Spoelstra. It's like the Kendrick Nunn thing. Am I losing it? Like honestly, am I on another plane of existence? Like, when did Kendrick Nunn become like this defensive stopper, get your own bucket, just spark plug off the, like, when did he become this guy? Like, I don't think he's a bad basketball player, but like, wow, like, I mean, they're doing the Andre Drummond thing over in LA again. He's like that.
Down bad, baby. Down bad.
That's like a top 5 funny tweet I've ever seen.
It's my favorite tweet ever.
That is a great tweet. Hey, man, they might not even need LeBron and Anthony Davis on the court. Like,
Andre Drummond is like that. They're doing the Kendrick Nunn is like that shit this year.
It's like the man got exiled from Cleveland before he went to the Lakers. What do you mean?
When the Cavs don't want you?
Oh, man. I don't even see him getting that many minutes. Like, I don't know what's happening over there.
I want to see the point of attack defense with Kendrick Nunn and Russell Westbrook on the court at the same time. Like, I want
for the laughs.
Or Anthony Davis. That back line.
That back line about to be working. But no, I don't understand the Kendrick Nunn thing. I don't like it. It got to a point to where I'm seeing these straight comments. I'm like, did I not watch the same person that gave it? It's like
we saw you.
Yeah. I'm just like, I remember writing like launching pad articles on Kendrick Nunn defense.
That's back in the day.
That's going back. I'm just like, wait, like
I used to get so mad when people like Goron's the worst defender on the team. I'm like, have you seen Kendrick Nunn? Right there. Have you seen my man? Like, we saw you. We watched film. People say Tyler Hero's the worst. I'm like, no, bro. Like, you guys have not. Kendrick Nunn dies on the screen like it's his job. It's like he practices dying on the screen. Like, I don't even know how you could just no effort at all. Oh, here's a screen. I'm done. Here you go, bam. Like,
if he's competent on defense, I'm gonna get so mad. I'm gonna hate him more than I ever have.
Oh yeah,
my god,
he has all the physical gifts. Like I said, he's dark skinned, so people just think he automatically can defend. It's colorist, and I don't like it, but that is an assumption. Like you see Kendrick Nunn at a pickup game, like, oh man, he's gonna lock me down, right?
I'm in for a long day.
I mean, it's gonna be a long motherfucking day with Kendrick Nunn on my ass. Little do I know.
Do you remember the video of Harden at like a children's camp doing like those like half reach-ins playing defense on the kids?
Mm-hmm.
That's Kendrick Nunn
in a real life game, yeah.
Like half Harden, like the kids are dribbling past him. Harden's like in like a half squat. His hands are like barely out. His lifts are kind of limp.
But it was never the one-on-one defense. Like he wasn't good. He was just still bad. But it was just negotiating any kind of traffic. Like my man was just done. Like, I mean, don't elevator, whatever kind of screen you want to talk about. Like my man was done after the first low chip. Somebody put a shoulder in Kendrick Nunn's way, and he was walking to the bench.
It's the reverse Hassan. Hassan didn't like making contact on screens, and Kendrick does it on the other end.
That would leak out after a screen. Oh shit! Jimmy gonna steal that shit. Let me go. I mean, Just wild. Anyway. All right, I'm going to leave you guys. I'm going to get ready for my show.
Love you, brother. Take care.
All
Let's
right.
get opinions. 8:30. All right, Nekias, we have
Nice to talk to you, Nekias.
Nice talking to you, man. Congrats again.
Thank you, sir. Thank
congrats,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, bring on my personal business.
All right.
You tweeted about
It's on Twitter. I got that. Bang. All right.
Peace. All right, Nekias, last one. That was fun. Max Strus. Not too much to get to. We'll probably play. I mean, what's there to say?
Well, one, he's definitely gonna play. Like,
unfortunately,
he got the Memorial "You're the number one guy" summer league assignment, which is one that should be KZ. And the fact that Max Strus got those reps over KZ is that should be kind of telling.
But also 35.
He does look 35, but he's not though.
I know, he's 25.
Shut up, Max Strus. But no, in all
like in a good way, not in a bad way. Like he looks like your 35-year-old coworker that like really wants to play ball after work because like he just really doesn't want to go home to his wife.
Oh Jesus. I'm gonna leave that one alone. But in all seriousness, it's like if Max Strus can hold his own defensively, like I'm kind of in on him as like a lower end rotation guy. Because I do think the shot is real. And the fact that, in random stretches last year and also during summer league, that the fact that he could get that shot off of different platforms, can get it off movement, can get it off a dribble or two, and is obviously a good spot up guy, can also spot up from deep, which is fun. Like, I think there are a lot of different pathways for him to be a productive offensive player. So if he just doesn't die on defense, like Spo's going to give him 14, 15 minutes.
So my thing with Max is, and I think sometimes his role was a little unfair because he didn't have consistent minutes. Right. And I do think that if he has more of a defined rotational role, if if you're a shooter, that can't be good if you're like in and out of a lineup. You know what I mean? You don't really get game reps, and shooting is so rhythmic that I feel that's a little bit unfair. Mm-hmm. So if he does get like a steady, like you said, like a back end rotation guy, like okay, Max, you're getting 7 minutes. You're playing 3 here and 2 here, whatever. Whatever they decide. I do think that's going to help him. Shot 34% last year from 3. Not good. I do think his shot selection's a little bit suspect. That I think will probably get reeled in a little bit with Kyle. And I think that they'll have more of a hierarchy to their offense. And I think hopefully Kyle's more available than Dragic. Not that Kyle is this emblem of health, but,
yeah.
I do think that having more of a hierarchy to your offense, if Hero does in fact take a little bit of an offensive, not a leap, but a little hop. I think people are quick on the leap finger, but kind of giving him a more defined role is good. 67% free throw shooter. That's a little concerning that his free throws aren't good. You kind of want that number to look better, especially when we're making excuses for why his 3-point percentage isn't good. When his free throw shooting wasn't. Small sample, so. Yeah, I mean, they're thin. They're thin on the wing. I mean, we just talked about a bunch of dudes that we talked. They're all back-end rotation players. You know what I mean? Like Martin, Strus, KZ, Okpala, right? Like all these dudes are just back-end rotation players. Even at their other positions, like, you got Markeef, who, I mean, God, good luck trusting Markeef, in minutes that matter. And they're thin, right? And that's why I said at the top of the show that, I think their championship equity is really high because in the playoffs, I think you can kind of circumvent that depth by just playing your good guys a lot of minutes. But in the regular season, especially in a COVID year, those guys are going to have to play. So if Miami ends up 5th, I wouldn't be shocked, right? Like they might end up below teams that I think they're better than. You know what I mean? Like if Boston or even Philly without Ben Simmons, right? If it's just Joel and Malik Monk and whatever else they get out of Minnesota or whoever, they might not be so good, but kind of on your way out, like, do you think the depth is a concern for you now that we've kind of gone through all the positions? Do you agree with me? Am I being a little crazy?
I don't think you're being crazy. Like in the season preview, like I highlighted wing depth specifically as the biggest thing that I didn't like about this Heat team. So I'm with you there. Just a quick note on the Max Strus point. He's taken 25 free throws in his NBA career. And he was I think an 82% free throw shooter in college across his 2 seasons. So like, I think this is very much just a volume thing a small sample thing for him on that point. He can shoot.
Super fair.
But yeah, like I just wish they had one more. If they had a reliable vet, or if I just trusted Spo to actually give KZ like 15 straight games of like, hey, let's see what you got. Either one of those will make me feel a little bit better, just because the top three is so good and you can stagger them in a way that you can kind of hide weaknesses for everyone else. But yeah, like I wish they had another guy.
Do you think they need like a starter, or do you just think that they need, reliable, 25-minute backup vet?
I think they just need the latter, honestly. Because but
I'm talking about to like win a title.
Oh, to win a title?
Ooh. Yeah. I'm not. Listen, Miami is in the business of parades and champagne. I think that the idea of we're gonna have a cute little season and push the Nets to 7 is just not good enough for them. Whether that's reasonable or not, internally that's how they view things.
Okay, to win a title, then yeah, it would be nice if they had a starter level guy to complement. Because like I think PJ in the ideal world, if the Heat were like not, so you said they're third in championship equity in the East. Like I tend to agree with you if they're healthy. But like if I were to say the Heat are actually in that class with Brooklyn and Milwaukee, well, I say Milwaukee and Brooklyn, but that's an argument for another day. If I was to say that they were in that class, then like PJ Tucker would be that depth. But instead, he's starting at the 4 for this Heat team.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's where I'm just like, I wish they had another forward.
Like and I've joked, I don't know who the name, I mean, obviously Gallinari is just not going to be available to them, but a guy like Gallinari or Harrison Barnes, I think they need like a guy like that.
Yeah, like that would help a ton. Because like if you're looking at the forward room and it's, it's Butler and let's say Harrison Barnes. Like if PJ Tucker is your third, and then you say, okay, on any given night, I'm going to get something from a Max Strus, or I might get something from a Markieff Morris, or I might get something from KZ. Like if you have your 3 locked in and then those are your wild cards, I feel much better about the depth on this team. But right now it's, okay, Jimmy's here. PJ, you have to be number 2 in the forward room. We have to get something consistent from Max Strus. And it's just like, that may happen, but the fact that you have to rely on that to happen is why, there's the Bucks Nets tier, and then there's another tier. And that's why the Heat are in that other tier, because you need some things to break right that you don't really feel comfortable with.
I like something you're doing on Dunker Spot. As you go out, Miami's best lineup that they can throw out there.
Best lineup. I want to see some Jimmy at the 4 stuff. Give me Kyle.
I didn't like that look last year. Maybe it was the people that was around them, because that was something I wasn't on, and I saw it and I go, never mind. They're just too small everywhere else.
Like if you're telling me they're fully healthy, what I really want to see is Kyle. It'll be Kyle, Depot, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy, and Bam. But like, if
they can do that against the Nets, I don't think they can get away with that against the Bucks.
Yeah, probably not.
Like the Nets provide them. It's why like I oddly like the Nets matchup for them, because they can play more of the way they want to. The Bucks, they have to really look themselves in the mirror, and it's like our weaknesses are really highlighted because these dudes are really big and really strong.
Yeah, I feel that. So I think that'd be my version of that. The most fun 5 for me, at least.
I think in theory it's the best, and I think you get the most offense, and I think you can get a survivable. I mean, they're a little small, but I mean, all those guys are good defenders except for Duncan, who's just okay. So I think you can really switch a lot of stuff. Like again, Boston. Even against Philly, when that front help recover, and you can get away with having some smaller lineups, especially because Embiid's favorite thing to do is to throw the ball to the other team. So I'm sorry. I'm never going to – I mean, he had more turnovers than assists last season, Nekias. I mean, we got to stop. You know what I mean? Like, I have to have a little bit of accountability. All right, that's our show for – listen, I've slandered Embiid enough today. I got to cool it. Listen, always fun to make fun of the Sixers. I promise the guys a little bit of Embiid slander through text.
That he did.
I did. Listen, I'm always delivering. Guys, we're gonna be pretty regular again. We had a nice break in the offseason. We had the Hottie Awards, and we took some time off. We deserve some rest too. But we're gonna be back at it. Hangover Time starts when the preseason starts. We're doing 2 to 3 MHBs a week. We're getting rolling. We're getting guests. We're having a good time. You can find us here on twitch.tv/MIAHeapy. Be on the lookout for the website. We have some new stuff coming to the website. I know, look at that. That's old. That's old MHB website. What are you talking about? We got some new stuff for the website. I think you guys are going to be really excited for that content. And I'm going to revamp the Patreon tiers to make it a little bit more worth your while. New season, new us. I really want to make sure that those who help support us, I want to thank you guys, because you don't understand what it takes to keep the lights on here, what it takes to get every single person paid. And, we just bought new mics for some people here. We got some new cameras. So your favorite personalities have a little bit better lighting. So, all that stuff goes back into what we do, and it makes us more available. So thank you guys for the support. For those of you who listen, to watch, to sub here on Twitch, who donate to our Patreon, we appreciate that. And we're really excited for a brand new season. 9 seasons in the book, Nekias. This is our 9th season doing this.
Been going at it a long time, but I've said it a few times to you, like in person, do text, whatever. But I would not have the platform I have without the platform y'all gave me. So I am always appreciative of what you've done for me, on and off the court per se. So
you would have found your way anyway, man. I love you, bro. You are one of the best people. This is a love fest right now. Nekias is one of the damn best people I've ever met in my life. A legitimate dear friend who I'm just so thankful for. You are great, and thank you for always. I know you have a WNBA game to watch. Thank you for always making time, and thank you, chat. Brass asking people are getting paid. Well, not you. You may have to talk to an attorney, but we've